Suffering Podcast.
Once a child is born into our lives, our views and perceptions of the world completely change. This beautiful creation reaches into your chest and fills the heart with pure love and pure joy. There is no feeling on planet Earth that can compare to this little tiny piece of you. Only when you love someone more than you love yourself can you experience what a true fear looks like. This enormous responsibility that none of us are prepared for enters your life and spikes the responsibility meter, knowing that this innocent child's survival rests solely in your hands. No matter the age of the child, they will always be on your tether. A parent will forever try to protect their child from harm, pain, and suffering. This blanket of safety that we hope to provide is an impossible task and a complete illusion. I'm Kevin Donaldson, always here with Mike Falaise, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity and overcoming suffering, then we're for you, because that's what we do here, and that's the stories that we highlight. So do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, please comment, ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content, and now you can join. And of course, follow us on all social media so you can find out what we're up to when we're up to it. On this episode of the Suffering Podcast, we have another traveler in here. Thank God he's an Eagles fan, because if you're not, you got to check your other football team at the door. We're going to talk to Brian Sizemore, and tonight's episode is going to be one of the more difficult conversations I could ever have, because it's something I don't even want to think about, and that's the suffering of losing a son. Brian, thank you so much for coming all this way to join us tonight. And I'm anxious to talk to you, but I'm not so anxious to talk to you.
All right. Thanks for having me, Kevin. It's important. It's an important message that you're helping us get out, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I believe there's, even in your tragic situation, I still believe that there's a lesson. Before we get into anything, let's throw a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody as police. We certainly don't trust anybody as podcasters, but we do trust the guys over at Toyota Hackensack. So if you're looking for a car, go to toyotahackensack.com and let them find you a car. And don't forget to tell them the Suffering Podcast sent you. So, Brian, each week we take a question from our audience. This question comes from Blitz929. What is a way that you could take better care of yourself? Going through what you've gone through and what we're going to get into, we have a tendency to ignore the people in the periphery and focus on the person that is the focus of the tragedy. So your personal well-being, your personal health sort of gets pushed to the side because you feel that it's unimportant. Right. So what do you think is one thing that you could do to take better care of yourself?
I personally get so focused on making sure everybody else is okay and making sure I'm getting things done for the foundation and getting the message out there and going and speaking and talking to groups that I have a very bad habit of I need to stop and just reflect or rest or relax for a weekend instead of running a bunch of errands and trying to set up the next thing and trying to promote, the foundation. I have a bad habit of doing that. I need to work on myself a little bit.
I am a consummate worker. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's my work. It's my work ethic that's been drawn into me from the day I was born. I don't know where it comes from, but I know I got it. So if I have, 10 things that I need to take care of, I need to bang them off one at a time when I don't, because a lot of times the end result of those things is 6 weeks away. It doesn't make any sense. So, while I'm pretty good at taking care of myself physically, I'm pretty good at eating the right foods. I'm pretty good at being mindful of my mental health. I will take breaks. I will meditate. I meditate every single day. But the one thing that I've learned recently that has bared fruit, I don't trust people very, very much. I have a difficult time trusting people. So with stuff with the show or stuff with other portions of my life when I'm going out and traveling somewhere, it's a hard thing for me to do, and I do it a lot, but I've been starting to trust people. I surround myself with good people so I can do this, but I start to trust people in my periphery, like Tom Flynn sitting out there, the gentleman you met. He takes care of a lot of stuff for our channel. Well, before that was on me, and it was just becoming overwhelming. Thankfully, there's people like him that are willing to pick up the slack, the stuff that I can do, but I might not be able to do wholeheartedly the way he does it. So I've learned to trust those people, and it's a very difficult thing for me.
Me too. I get to the point where if I'm asking somebody to do something and like I'm fussy, especially when it comes to this foundation, because of what we're focused on trying to do, but that's got my son's name on it. I get frustrated, don't like the way something's being done. I'll just do it myself. And then before you know it, I got a list, as long as your list over there, and I'm trying to check off the stuff that I've done, the stuff that I haven't done yet. So I do have a few people that I can trust that way. More would be better, and we're getting there. We're getting there. We're brand new. We're just getting this thing off the ground.
It's a hard ask because the job that you would do if you had the full amount of time, but then you become overwhelmed. And if you take on that job, next thing you know, the people around you, the people that you want to help, they're going to go, well, Brian's got it. I'm not going to worry about it.
I have a full-time job. I work for a big company, and the stuff that I do for the foundation it's become for sure a part-time job. Every morning I'm up probably before I go into work, hour and a half, 2 hours worth of stuff I'm doing, banging out emails, stuff like that. And then when I come home, I try to relax and get something to eat, but I'm still another hour, maybe 2 every day. And that doesn't even count on the weekends. On the weekends, there's more, you're putting in more hours.
So one of the things that I do purposely is I wake up, we were just talking about waking up early in the morning prior to recording here. I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning because between 3 and 5 o'clock, I know I'm not going to get any calls.
Exactly.
I'm not going to get any emails. Yep. That is completely time that I've carved out for myself. And I make sure I spend it on myself. I go to the gym, I run, I do all that stuff. And I continually, I will always make that space. The problem is in order to make that space, something must be sacrificed. Me, I sacrifice sleep. I go to bed early, but I sacrifice sleep. And that's the only way I can do it because I need to, if I don't have that time in the morning, the rest of my day turns to
whatever works.
Yeah. So Blitz 929, thank you for sending that question and keep sending in your questions. We will try to get them on the air. So Brian, you've traveled all this way from Michigan and you became my new best friend the minute you walked in here and told me you were an Eagles fan. I don't know how that happened, but my buddy Bobby's a Detroit fan, and he lives in New Jersey, so I don't know.
Like I said, too many coincidences. They're not coincidences,
Well, listen, we traded. Okay, I traded Bobby to go to Detroit. You trade.
Right.
They traded you to come to the Philly side of it, and that the first time I spoke to you on the phone, and the things that you were saying, and I'm like, man, you're hitting on a lot of hard things for me with Mike here. And please refresh my memory because I cannot think of it for the life of me. The gentleman who connected us, because I want to make sure he's mentioned. I don't know who, I never met this gentleman before. I don't know who he is. I don't know how the hell he found me.
I honestly don't know how he found you, but it's Jared Murphy. He's the acting special agent in charge of HSI for Michigan and Ohio.
For the FBI?
Homeland Security.
For Homeland Security?
Homeland Security Investigations.
You got to ask him how the hell he came across me.
As part of his job, he's constantly going for training and conferences, and maybe you were at one of the locations he was at. Maybe he bumped into you. I don't know. I'll ask him.
Please do, because and tell him I apologize for not remembering. I get a lot of phone calls. I get a lot of emails. I get a lot of social media stuff, and stuff sometimes tends to blend together. But we just talked about there's too many coincidences here, and I'm a big believer that stuff comes in front of my vision when I need it, when I must talk about it, and I try to pay attention to those things. So when you came in front of me and we spoke for the first time, I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's 100% what it is. But before we get into any of that stuff, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and how you grew up and where you grew up?
I grew up what is called the Downriver area. Of the Metro Detroit area, so I'm south of Metro Detroit. Probably never lived more than 8 or 9 miles from the Detroit River in the Lake Erie, Lake St. Clair. So grew up. My mom was a homemaker. My dad was a employee of Norfolk Southern Railroad. Had a good job. Watched that guy go to work every day for 40 years. Never missed a day of work. I can probably count on one hand the number of times I saw him go to the doctor for something. Have a sister, 2 younger brothers, and we were fortunate that our dad worked his butt off. We never went through, the family having, my dad be laid off or anything. We always had a home, always had food on the table. So we were fortunate. He was actually able to send us to a private Catholic high school. So had a little bit of a Catholic education on top of going to church, and then went to college for a little bit. Was fortunate enough to get a job with AT&T. But I'm a 27 years employee there.
How old are you, if you don't mind?
57.
You're 57? Okay.
Yep.
You got less wrinkles in your face than me, and I'm 7 years younger than you. What the hell, man?
Rewind a little bit, and me and my wife got married back in 92, so it's been 33 years. She's a school teacher in the area, downriver area where we're at, and like I said, we're fortunate and blessed to both have good jobs, secure jobs, live in a single family home in the suburbs, and 2 sons, and
you're doing everything right.
Typical American family. You find a job that you like, try to be good at it, and work hard.
You're hitting all the marks, right? You're hitting all the marks of the quote unquote American dream, normal life, all those things. You have, it sounds like you grew up in a wonderful childhood, and your dad instilled some sort of ethics inside of you and some morals inside of you. So you get married. What do you do when you get married? You enjoy your wife a couple of years, then you start having kids.
Right.
And you get the opportunity to slide into the dad role and implore those different morals and ethics on them.
Yep, that's the way it works.
So your children, what are your children's names?
Lucas and Evan.
And were those lessons that you learned from your father, were you able to get that stuff into them?
Yeah, absolutely. Ironically, my dad retired. Lucas was born in February. My wife planned her leave time and maternity time. So when Lucas was born in February, she had the February, March, April, May, and then the entire rest of the summer until September. So in like August of that year, my dad had retired. He actually approached us without us even asking and said, "Hey, I will come to your house every morning so you guys can go to work." And he watched.
That's a scam, right? Grandparents always like to hang around their grandkids.
Well, he offered to watch them, and like, man, you got the threat of, not threat, that's the wrong word, but you got childcare costs hanging over your head, and the worry of who is watching your kids hanging over your head, and then here, Grandpa offers it up.
What I'm saying is your father?
I know
your father sold this bill of goods to, like, I'll save you on the healthcare. Right. Meanwhile, he's in heaven because he gets to spend it with his grandkids. Absolutely. And like as the years would go by, one of the two of them would do something or act up, and he would just let it go, and then I would look at him like, what the hell happened to the guy I grew up with, Your parents turn into different people. Right. That's what it is.
Right.
The parent who's yelling, screaming, but you also got to remember your father at this point taking care of his grandkids, and that's the good stuff in life, because you can rile them up, and you don't have to take care of them when it's ready to go to bed.
Right. He just goes home.
But it's also, he doesn't have the stress of providing.
Right. That's true.
You know this as a father, and I know this as a father. The stress of providing, making sure they're happy, healthy, and they have the things that they need. Not the things they want, but the things they need.
Yep, so they can get by.
And there's no plan B. You fail, you let them down. So there's a lot of stress that we tend to bring on to our children. Did you ever bring that stress into the household?
Honestly, not that I know of. I'm sure I probably did. I mean, you things get tighter. You got bills to pay, or I'm sure at some point I did.
Yeah. So your 2 children, how many years apart were they?
4.
They were 4 years apart, and the children are funny because they come from the same mother, same father, and they grow up completely different. They have different characteristics, different traits. Like I always say, my kids are me split in the middle. My one kid is all about sports, and he likes to cook, so that's the creative side. And then the other one is more creative, likes sports, but is super creative. So it's me split straight down the middle. Heavily laden on both sides because I like sports and I'm creative. That's the way it goes. So pleased with that. What are the characteristics that your two boys had that you see in yourself?
It's a lot like you just said. Like since Lucas's passing, I have seen characteristics in Evan that he didn't normally demonstrate that are characteristics of Luke that he is kind of taking on now. I think the passing may have something to do with it. He
Stepping into a void.
Well, I think he's trying to do things and enjoy things that his older brother was doing. But as children, well, see, you asked me this question, you're going to get one answer. You ask my wife this question, you're going to get a different answer. So I'm
going to keep my mouth closed.
Right. So
I want your wife to like me and not hate me and send me hate mail.
Right. So, you know how it goes. Like if they got a smart mouth, that's your son,
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, Lucas and I like the same kind of music. He was an avid hunter like I am, and Evan wasn't. We would take him. We would always offer to take him, and it wasn't his cup of tea. Evan was more into sports than Lucas was. So you hit the nail on the head. They're kind of like they take on characteristics. Both of them take on characteristics of you.
The difference that I made as a father, as opposed to my father, which I'm not a fan of, is I encourage their strengths.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I don't push them in a direction. Like it would be very easy for me, for my youngest, and don't get me wrong, my youngest loves sports. He's
right.
The most motivated kid I've ever seen in my life. But I don't push him. No, dude, it's got to all be about sports. When he has that creative side, I like to, like, I had him in here singing a song. He likes to sing, right? So I had him in here. And I got one of his Christmas gifts were to sing a professional song, a professionally recorded song, and it was
nice.
It was cool as hell, because I want to encourage all that stuff.
Right.
I don't think the way that I was pushed into certain things is the right way.
No, I don't think so either. I've had the honor to coach for a long time, and
there's another thing we got in common, by the way.
I saw too much of what you were just talking about, where kids were being pushed into stuff that their heart wasn't in it. They didn't want to do it, and they were miserable, and you could tell, and like your heart aches. So it's, I guess in a way that kind of helped me, because when you see another child miserable like that opened my eyes. It's like, hey, don't make your boys do something that they don't want to do.
They're going to end up resenting you.
Exactly.
They're going to, and that will rear its head later on down in life. But so you have these two separate pieces of you that you're trying to raise to be well-adjusted, good men. Did you see them going in a certain professional direction as they got older?
No, not. Evan is still, I think his older brother's death kind of sidetracked him a bit. Probably a good year. He was maybe a year out from graduating college, and then he wanted to come home.
I get it.
Like, hey, I'm not gonna force you to stay there, and you don't want to be there. So he came home.
This is the first time as a parent, like most of the stuff that they're going to tackle growing up, you've been there, right?
Right.
You've experienced it, maybe not you personally, but somebody
has.
You have some life lessons. What happened to Lucas? You're both navigating the same unknown waters together.
Right.
So you didn't know how to handle it. Your son is younger than you.
Right.
How the hell would you expect him to understand it?
When you think about it like that, the best thing that me and my wife could do is have him home, because we see him every day. We're talking to him every day. We know we can see how he is, or how, if he's doing, if he needs some help, if he's doing okay, we can monitor it versus him being away at school.
Yeah. There's a very good possibility where he could self-medicate, drink too much, kind of numb it a little bit, because it hurts.
Yes.
It hurts.
Yep.
Before we get into that, so let's focus a little bit on Lucas, because we're actually here to talk about Lucas. And this is no shot on Evan. Maybe we'll have you back to talk about Evan. But it's funny how he dealt with that, and that's a whole other wrinkle to the story, but he's not here to speak for himself. So with Lucas, as you saw him matriculating and getting older, How did police work come into it?
He graduated high school and enrolled at Eastern Michigan University. He ended up graduating from there. And I would say the end of his freshman year, maybe his sophomore year, is when he started taking criminal justice courses. And then he got his uncle he had either just retired from Homeland Security investigations or maybe he was still active. I'm not sure. Got him a internship at the federal building downtown Detroit with HSI.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So as his dad, you can immediately tell, excited, like they would be serving warrants, an hour from my house. He would have to meet at a local police department somewhere. He's up at 3:30 in the morning when I'm getting up, getting dressed to go meet these agents at these police departments because he tags along while they serve the warrants. He was excited. He was interested.
He gets to see the shit that movies are made about.
Right. They have an Air National Guard base on the other side of town where they do all their tactical training and stuff. They would take him in there and let him. So he got to do the cool stuff. And that's when we really saw the interest peak. And me and my wife knew at that point he was going to be in law enforcement at some point, somewhere.
When you look at a little kid, when you're a police officer or any form of law enforcement, and you see a kid with an interest and an aptitude for law enforcement, somebody who you think, hey, this kid could be he could be a good cop. You nurture that. Like, right. I've done it before. Like, hey, you try to walk them along. You might treat them a little bit differently than the other children because you want to keep that interest sparked.
I think that's what the agents in Detroit were doing. I think they knew in their heart at some point he would have went federal and came back to one of them agencies.
Yeah. He graduates from Eastern Michigan.
Right.
And did he start making applications?
He, at the time, he found out that the only federal agency that would hire you without any prior law enforcement experience was a Border Patrol. And he was a little reluctant to apply there.
It's
and
a tough job.
Well, apprehensive, and then he knew, he's immediately getting sent to the southern border. And
what year is this, by the way?
This would be 2021 is when he graduated from.
That was a tough year for Border Patrol.
Right. So, and it was right before everything started getting really ugly. So I'm glad that he didn't go down there. A lot of law enforcement in my family. He starts asking questions, getting advice, and like we were talking about with the internship. That's the kind of stuff he wanted to do. And people local where I live told him, like, we'll hire you right now. You can give you a job right now, but you're going to drive 2 miles that way and write a ticket, and you're going to drive 2 miles that way and write a ticket. And that just wasn't what he wanted to do. He wanted a
little bit more high speed stuff.
High speed, excitement are probably all the wrong words, but he wanted opportunities to do, like, be in the motorcycle outfit or canine or SRT teams and like nothing wrong with small departments, but they don't have those things, and he wanted opportunity, so he started applying. Someone just asked me this too. I don't remember him applying to any departments on the East Coast. I think he liked the southern climate, so he was applying like that whole southern half of the United States, and then Atlanta sent him an email, and then he went down there for a bunch of testing and vetting and physicals, and that he was down there almost a week, and then he came home. And I would say probably within 2 weeks, they sent him a job offer, as long as you make it through the academy and all that. So he took it.
And then so in 2021, he becomes Atlanta proper?
Yeah.
Atlanta PD? That's a rough area.
Well, it gets better. I don't know if every agency or department does this. Atlanta PD allows the recruits to at least preference where, which is, they call them zones down there.
That's really unheard of.
Well, he did. They allowed him to preference, and I don't know what the odds are of you actually getting what you preference or getting the shift that you preference, but he got both. So he picked evening watch, which was 3 o'clock-ish in the afternoon.
That's a great shift.
He liked it.
Yeah.
One of the I don't know if it's still a heavy crime area, but he picked probably one of the worst ones in the city on purpose. He didn't want to be downtown directing traffic. He didn't for various reasons. But he had to get his feet wet somewhere, and that's what he picked. He wanted to stay busy, and he loved it.
So the cool thing about the afternoon shift is you're busy because you get the rush hour, you get all that action, and then by the time your shift is over, you're pretty much putting the city to bed. So you get a little bit of both.
Right.
And you're home, it depends on how many hours they work. You're home at somewhat of a reasonable hour. You have most of your morning free. So it's a great shift.
Yep.
And I'm of the mindset that I would rather be busy. I don't want crime to pop off all the time.
Right.
I'd rather be busy because it makes the day go faster.
Makes your shift go faster.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Because when those horrible times that nothing's going on and you're just sitting there with your own thoughts, you're like, oh my God, this is taking forever.
So he, when they were building, you remember it was in the news quite a bit. The citizens down there were calling it Cop City. They built that brand new police academy.
Yeah.
Well, they were getting so many protesters and fires, and they were breaking in and setting construction equipment on fire. The city had, I think they pulled, I want to say three officers out of every precinct, every shift, round the clock to patrol that property, like on the property, the perimeter, and he would get sent over to do that, and he hated it.
Yeah.
He liked, because it was out in the middle of nowhere in the woods, and he was a hunter, so he'd see deer and stuff all the time. He would like call me when he was sitting there taking pictures of these deer, but you're bored out of your mind just sitting there.
It's a lot. Like, I've heard this from vets. I'm not a vet, but I've heard this from vets. The worst thing a vet during a wartime vet is when the battle's over and you're sitting there, and it goes throughout. It's got to be this way forever. But like World War I guys, they would sit there and make trench art, out of the big shells.
Yeah, do something.
You got to do something, because that downtime will kill you. We had a World War II vet in here that stole 2 cars during downtime, and he was at D-Day and the Battle of the Bulge and stole a car after each one. So downtime is when all the danger happens. It's when they're going to drink too much, or they're going to get in trouble, they're going to get into fights. It's never a good thing, and it's the same thing with police officers. That's when the foolishness starts.
Right, and they're young. They're still young.
Yeah, they're kids.
Yep.
So how old was he when he got on?
He was in the academy and did his field training for a year, so he was 23.
23. So he's a young.
Yep.
And not a knock on Lucas, but at 23 you think you got the world figured out. At 28 you figure out how stupid how stupid you were when you were 23. So there's a lot of life experience, and that's why, like, New Jersey, the average age of getting hired is like 26 to 28, because they want them to have a little bit of a base.
Right.
Very rarely will you see somebody get hired that's 21. Sometimes I've seen it 18.
I think.
Do you think he was ready for it?
Yeah, I think he was ready for the job. I don't think he was. That's the first time he had lived on his own. Now, APD, with help from the Atlanta Police Foundation, the Police Foundation built I want to say it was a 4-story apartment building for the recruits.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Well, the story that I was told is recruits kept coming in late for the academy in the morning, and then they found some of them living in their vehicle because it cost so much to live down in the city. Rent was so high to live in the city, or your other choice was to live outside of the city, and the traffic in Atlanta is bad. So you're driving an hour. So some of these kids were living out of their car. So the Police Foundation helps them build this apartment building, brand new building. His apartment, he had a roommate. They each had their own bedroom that locked. They each had their own bathroom that locked. Full kitchen.
It's like a dormitory.
It was kind of like a dormitory. Washer and dryer and stuff right in the unit. Fully furnished. They just had to have bedding and sheets and stuff, and it was cheap. It I think he was paying like $300 a month or something.
That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Because when somebody's going through the police
Wonderful
academy,
benefit.
you have to stay laser focused in order to
Yep.
concentrate on all the stuff and all the rigors of the police academy. What better place to let's put them all in one place?
Yeah.
And let's make sure they can get there
Well,
on time.
I think that goes both ways. I think you're right. They're all there together. They can rely on each other for rides or help study, like the classroom materials, all of that. But you also have, a bunch of 20-somethings in an apartment building, and all those things that is going through your mind is what happens in that type of facility. So
Did
you
Lucas
get
fall
both.
into that?
No, but they, and it's co-ed. So, yeah.
Oh, forget it.
So, you got that going on. They had a recreation room on the like basement lower level thing that looked like and was set up like a bar.
Oof.
without
liquor.
Without the liquor, without the beer, but big screens. They had a bar, they had a bar back, they had stools, they had tables, and once they opened it, they were allowed to use it, so they were having parties and stuff like that. He was always smart enough to know that you still got to get your butt up in the morning and go to work. APD also makes them do like an administrative job, a task, some kind of task.
That's good. It builds character.
Well, it does. It also it's something that keeps them busy. That they don't have that idle time to go get in trouble, so they have something to do. And ironically, Luke got posted to the chief's office. He sat at a desk, like at the entry to the chief's office, and answered phones and stuff like that. So the chief walked past him and saw him every day.
See, he must have been something special, okay? Because he gets the assignment that he wants. He gets the shift that he wants. While he's in the academy, he gets posted to the chief's office. They don't give those to people or put people in those positions who are numbskulls.
Right.
Are you ready to enhance your skills and provide the best care to those who need it the most? I'm Kevin Donaldson.
I'm Sherry Alsop. Our trauma-informed training is here to help, and we've been traveling across the country delivering this essential need to departments and organizations of every size, shape, and makeup.
We come to you with on-site training so you don't have to worry about travel or scheduling conflicts.
This isn't just a class, it's an interactive experience. You'll learn directly from subject matter experts who teach from a victim's point of view, putting you in the shoes of those who have experienced trauma.
This approach allows you to understand trauma on a deeper level and to better serve the individuals you work with.
We'll guide you through new interview techniques that prioritize a victim-centered approach, ensuring safety and empathy in every conversation.
And for those of you in law enforcement or other fields, our training includes post-credits, giving you the extra added value and recognition for your commitment to professional growth.
We offer references upon request to show just how effective our training can be.
Don't miss the opportunity to improve your understanding of trauma and make a real difference in the lives of those you serve. Get in touch with us today by going to sherryalsop.com and let us bring trauma-informed training to your organization.
Together, we can make a lasting impact.
He was always a great kid, always smart, very polite, very well-mannered, and like my wife will say, he got that from her. But he,
of course, all the good things go to the other
exactly. But yeah, he was awesome.
So while he's down in Atlanta and you're still in Michigan, constant communication?
So you have mentioned what time you wake up. Me too. That's about what time I'm getting up. And he was one of the few things that I saw him struggle with was getting used to the shift. Thank God it wasn't a swing shift or anything like that. He got that evening watch shift and he stayed on that shift. So I would tell him, like, you gotta treat it like it's a day shift. Sleep until an hour or so before you got to go to work, get up, do what you would normally do in the morning, and then when you are done, you come home, you stay awake, do your errands, do your laundry, cook, whatever, and then go to bed.
Yep.
And after you do that for about a month, it's going to take your body a minute to get used to it. You'll be fine. And he did. So, but having said that, I was going into work when he was coming home and vice versa. So we talked at least once a day, sometimes twice a day, when I was going in and when, like, we're both in our vehicles. He's going home, I'm coming in. So I talk to him all the time.
That was more a selfish question because I have a 15 and a 12-year-old, and pretty soon they're going to be off doing their own thing. And when they leave the house, they're my buddies, you know, and it scares the hell out of me. That's why it's nice to hear those things that you still talk. I talk to my kids on the phone all the time, you know, throughout the day while I'm working and they're obviously home from school. But that's I like that. I like that a lot because just because they're out of the house doesn't mean they're out of your life.
Exactly.
When did you start noticing some cracks in his personality?
I don't know if they were like cracks in his personality, but so he got mad at me because I put and if you would do the same thing, I put a police scanner app on my phone. Couldn't help it. And so in Atlanta, you've got you set the app to tune into the frequency. On that frequency, you've got all of APD, all 6 zones, all that chatter. You got the hospital's chatter, and there's a railroad on there, and there's Georgia Tech University police are all on that. So you got all that radio chatter, and every single time that kid came on that radio, I could pick him out just like that. I knew his voice. I would try to. I don't understand the lingo. You know, I was picking up on some of it. But he got mad, and he's like, "Why do you listen to that? You shouldn't listen to that." And
because he doesn't want to worry you.
Because he doesn't want to worry me. So this is what I told him. I said, "Okay, smart ass." I said, 25 years from now, you got a son, and he becomes a police officer. You tell me that you're not going to listen. So he wasn't upset no more, but I could tell if he went on a call that involved a kid, it bothered him, because I could tell it. I could hear it in his voice when he was, because I heard all the stories. I heard the good ones, the funny ones, the bad ones. I heard them. It would bother him, and like I could hear it in his voice. He would repeat himself. He would tell me part of the story, and then he'd talk about something else, and then he'd repeat that part of the story again, not realizing that he had just told me. So I knew it was bothering him.
Well, that's what police work does, right?
Right.
So, police work for a new officer makes you realize one thing real quick, and it makes you realize that you are human.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you go into that academy and you're super focused and you're laser tight on your task at hand. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to save the world. And then you get out on the street and you see a couple bad things. You see some shit that, you know, as people are driving by and they're rubbernecking and they're looking, you're the one standing there over the stuff. And you realize that these things hurt.
You're right.
And like, wait, maybe I'm not that RoboCop. Maybe I still have feelings in there. I still have to do this job. I have to navigate this job. And these things bother me because you're a normal human being.
Right.
Police officers are really good at shutting those down.
Absolutely, they are.
But then they start shutting them down in other portions of their life, and that's when stuff starts to become unhealthy. So he's shutting that stuff down. And did he, in the beginning, did he tell you, and then he stopped telling you? Is that what happened?
No, he always shared. Like I would ask him how his day went. Excuse me, if there was anything important. You know, I don't ever recall or I never got the feeling that he was hiding anything. Put it that way.
Yeah. So there comes a time. How many years did he do?
1.5.
He did one
after he did his field training, and then they're immediately on the road by themselves. They don't ride with a partner.
Where we're trying to get to here is something that happens all too frequently in law enforcement. And it's your son, okay? So your stake in the game, like what we're going to talk about is Lucas ends up taking his life. A year and a half into this job, this young kid, this beautiful boy who you raised since infancy, chooses to do this awful thing. Was there an event? Something happened?
Nope. Don't. There was never, and that's one of the things that haunts me. So you're a police officer. You know exactly what happened when, after he took his own life. The police department took his laptop, they took his phone, they took his tablet, they went through his emails, they went through everything. They combed through everything, and then a few months after the fact, we got it all back. We did the same thing. We went through everything, looking for emails, looking for texts, and him and Evan were super close. My nephew Antoine, him and Luke were super close. We were all super close as a family, and his academy classmates, his two best friends, nobody saw anything, nobody heard anything. He never complained about anything. Everyone was just as shocked as we were.
So tell me about the day.
I was at work. I was already at work. We already established how early we both get up. So I was, I have a routine. I walk in, set my stuff down on a table, walk out back, and start opening things up, doors, that type of stuff. And my one coworker that always came in early with me comes like jogging to me with my phone. She said, "Evan's blowing your phone up." Now, at the time, he was playing college football, so at 5:30 in the morning, actually it was 5:06. That's not odd for him to be calling because they started practice at 6 a.m. So the fact that he was up, I'm thinking, normal dad stuff, something wrong with his car, So I tried to call him back and he didn't answer, and then I tried him again and he did answer, and he said I could hear him that he was upset, and he's at school. He tells me, he says, "Dad, you got to sit down," and with his voice cracking, and then I said, "What?" And he says, "Dad, you got to sit down," and I said, "Evan," I said, "just frickin' tell me," and he point blank, he said, "Luke's dead." And now I say this because, and I've never asked Evan. I don't remember if Evan said he accidentally shot himself or that's where my brain went and that's what I wanted to hear, or I didn't want to hear it, but that's what my brain heard. So my coworker saw it in my face. I didn't say anything that I remember saying out loud, but I told her I got to go. I'm leaving. I grabbed my stuff, started walking out the door, tell the boss I'll call her as soon as I can. So she knew something bad had happened. I told Evan, stop everything you're doing, get your butt home. I went into busy mode. All these things going through my head, like, what do I do? Because I'm the oldest sibling. Both my parents are still alive. I've never had to really deal with anything like this.
And it's supposed to happen in reverse. Like this.
Right. So I call my wife.
Oh boy.
Yes. And she had already talked to Evan, and she was incoherent. I couldn't really make out what she was saying. And I just told her, I said, on my way home, I'll be home as fast as I can get there. And I work about 35, 40 minutes from home.
That's a long ass car ride to hold this burden.
So that's not even, just wait. So I'm doing all, and I work for AT&T. All the things that they tell you not to do in their commercials, I'm doing all of them. Texting, looking for flights, trying to figure out, if I can get there. So by the time I got home, I had already decided I couldn't get a flight till like afternoon, like 12:35 or something. And I'm like, well, shit, I'll be more than halfway there. I'm driving. Grabbed what I could grab, and I was driving. So I walked in the house, and I guarantee you Marie was standing in the same spot that I had talked to her 40 minutes earlier. I don't think she had moved. And she looked like she was melting. She's just standing there, still just bawling, incoherent. And her mom lives with us. So I told her, I said, I'm not waiting for anybody to go with me. I don't got time to call people. I'm going to Atlanta right now. Grab my stuff. I'm walking out the door. And she's like, I can't go, obviously because of her mom. Number one, we could have woke some people up and got them over to the house, but she's like, I can't go see him like that. I can't go see him. So by 6:15, I was on southbound 75, 11 hours to Atlanta by myself, trying to
rationalize in your head what the hell is going on.
All of that.
So the silence, you're in a car, the silence that you have locked with nothing but your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Like that blows me away.
Right. It was everything that you think happened. Like there would be moments of this awful grief. Then like there would be anger. Then something, I would think of something and okay, now it's starting to get later in the morning. I could start notifying people. Well, because you remember, I jumped right in my truck. So I still have to, well, let me back up. And I've had the honor to go back to the academy a couple of times and speak to those recruits. And I always said this to Lucas too. And we always thought it would be the other way around, not something happened to him. But I always told him, I said, I know all your buddies' names. I said, I know what they look like. I said, but I don't have any of their phone numbers. If something happens and I can't get a hold of you, you're down here by yourself. I said, I don't know who to get a hold of. So I tell those recruits, I said, you two guys, make sure those two guys have your parents' number or your sister or your brother and vice versa. So if something happens and you guys can't get a hold of one another, they got someone to call, because I want to hear it. I'd prefer to hear something from somebody I know. So
you have limited information at this point, right?
Very limited information. So the one guy's number that I did have didn't pick up. So now I'm probably in Ohio by this point, and it just dawns on me. Call the desk sergeant. So I did. I called the Zone 4 desk sergeant, and I don't remember that young lady's name. And I'm sure my caller ID came up, and she answers the phone, and she immediately says, Sizemore, we're getting all of these reports. Are you okay? And I'm like, ma'am, no. Yes. I said, ma'am, this is Brian Sizemore. I said, I'm Lucas's dad. I said, I've got the same reports. I said, I'm in my truck on the way to Atlanta right now. So she said, okay, Mr. Sizemore, I'm sorry. Major Clay is on his way to the scene, and he'll call you with an update. So Major Clay called me. He was still on his way to the scene when he called, and said he would call back with more information. And then I want to say it was right around 7:00 that Chief Shearbaum called me and gave me the official notification. And then he wanted to go to Zone 4, because now by this point, they're all, it's going around on everyone's cell phones. And
was he working?
Luke?
Yeah.
No, he was in his apartment.
He was in his apartment. Did he have a girlfriend? Was he dating anybody?
Oh yeah, he had a girlfriend. They were actually engaged.
Really?
Yep. So
and she doesn't know anything either?
Nope. It was like I said, Kevin, he had notebooks, and like he played the guitar, and he had music written down, and like I said, everything you would expect an investigation to entail, they did all of that and never found anything to lead up to anything.
So what do you know about his last moments?
So, and again, I'm not no dummy. Marie's brother, Paul, the HSI agent, knows that I'm on my way down there. I've never asked him, but I can put two and two together. I'm sure he reached out to somebody down there. And so when I get there that day, it's about 4:00 in the afternoon. They have me stop in Marietta. One of Lucas's instructors from the academy is at this McDonald's waiting for me, bawling. One of his best friends is at this McDonald's waiting for me, bawling. And then they bracket me. They took me out of my truck, wouldn't let me drive. They his best friend drove my truck. They bracket me with police cars and take me into a hotel downtown, and that's where Chief is there. There was Chaplain House was there, Chief's detail, other command staff, and then the detectives. So they start asking, they ask me everything that you think they're going to ask. Like, did I hear anything? Did I know anything? I'm like, nope. And during that drive down is when the idea for the foundation actually popped in my head. Them 11 hours with nothing but all the craziness going through my head is when it popped in. So when Chief Shearbaum was sitting next to me in this conference room, and after the detectives asked their questions, I said, hey, can you step outside for a second? I want to talk to you. And I told him then in the hallway, I said, hey, we want to do this. Family wants to start this. And this stuff's got to stop. And he's been on board, 100% supportive of us from day one.
So what did Lucas do?
So about 4:15 in the morning, he gets out of bed, goes into his bathroom, takes his clothes off, gets in the shower, and takes a 9mm in there and put it in his mouth and shot himself in the shower.
As not to be a disturbance to the people who had to clean up afterwards.
So that turned out to be somewhat true and not so true, because getting back to what Marie's younger brother, he knew I had to go clean out his apartment. And so Paul, her younger brother, tells me, Brian, don't go in the bathroom. So I'm not stupid. As soon as he said that, I was like, okay.
You're going in the bathroom.
Well, he had stuff in the bathroom, so I had to go in the bathroom anyway. But when you walk into his apartment, you're like looking down this hallway, and the bathroom's right there. You can't not see the bathroom. So I couldn't go there the following day. I had to wait a day because they had to clean it. And when I walked into the apartment, the first thing I noticed is they couldn't clean the floors. They ripped the flooring out with breaker bars. They ripped all the hardwood floors out because I'm guessing there was so much blood that they couldn't get it up. Molding out of the bathroom, all the flooring in the bathroom and in the hallway was gone. But there was no blood. They took the flooring away and cleaned it up. That was the first time that I really, really broke down, is when I walked in there. And it sounds weird to say it like this, but when I walked in, I could still smell him. I could smell what he had cooked for dinner. I could smell his cologne. I could smell his clothes, and it's like he was still standing there.
You watched this boy from an infant.
Mm-hmm.
You saw him take his first steps.
Mm-hmm.
You saw him say his first words. And now you're seeing the last moments of his life.
Right.
In one spot. There's no parent in the world
Mm-mm.
that should see that latter portion of their son's or daughter's life.
Nope.
Okay? We're supposed to be long gone.
Yes. Yep.
But sometimes it happens.
Yes. So I was fortunate that one of his good friends was with me, and there was other officers there, and we went to work. We had to get everything that I wanted to take home. We had to get it out of there. He had a car down there, his motorcycle, his belongings. We filled up my truck and his car with his belongings, and then the furniture that it was mostly hand-me-down type stuff. He bought a bed, but we gave that. I told the guys, I said, hey, any of you officers want this stuff, you're welcome to it. If not, give it to a church or something. So they...
I don't know whether, if I was one of those other officers, if I could handle that.
Yeah, from what I heard, some of them took some of the stuff, and I think they did give the rest of it to a church that was down the street.
So this was what year?
This was 2024, January 9th, 2024 is when he took his life.
Man, 2024 is a bad year. It's just a bad, bad year. You know what? As we the people who are listening who are parents wipe the tears from their eyes, because every single one of them feels your pain. Maybe not specifically, but periphery.
Yep. This is the hardest thing I'll never get over it.
And we're never supposed to, right?
Right.
So you personally, Brian, the man, you're grieving, and people grieve in all different ways. What was your process like? Did you drink? Did you anesthetize in any way? Did you put your energy into something positive? Did you get yourself busy?
All of those things, like the foundation, I actually tell people is a little bit therapeutic, because it, like we were talking about the recruits and everyone else, like if you got that idle time.
What's the foundation too? Because you keep mentioning that. I want you to mention the name.
It's,
of the
the long version of it is Law Enforcement's United Crusade Against Suicide, but the acronym spells his name, Lucas. And like I said, I told Chief that day, that evening in the hotel, called my sister-in-law, who's an attorney, and I said, Louise, we want to do this. Don't know what, at that point, didn't know what I was going to call it or what we were going to call it. But have the paperwork ready to send to the state of Michigan. And when I got back later that week, we sent it right off. We had it ready to go.
So in essence, it's the Lucas Foundation.
Yes, that's so. If it comes up both ways if you search for it.
Yeah. This is This is horrific.
Yes,
it is absolutely horrific. He took his life, and you still don't have those answers.
Nope.
All right. And the good chances you never will have those answers.
Nope.
All you know is your baby boy is gone.
Right.
You and your wife have to carry on, and his name will always be on your lips. There's no possibility of it ever leaving your
Nope.
lips, because the mark of a parent is they're forever your children. I don't care what they do.
Right.
I don't care what they do. You could get mad at them. You could get pissed at them. I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
But it's hard to remember now, right?
Well, like for an instant, I was mad at him because of what he did.
Yeah.
For all of about maybe 15 seconds, I was pissed, and I'm like, just thinking, why, and then that changed back to the grief, and then you go to the guilt, and you're thinking like, even now,
what did I miss?
What did I miss? What did he try to say something to me, or did, like, him and his buddy went, so that was the day after Michigan won the National Football Championship. So him and his buddy went and got a couple beers and a burger at this little place around the corner from themselves and came back.
Did he at Ohio State?
Yep.
Yep.
And so I didn't talk to him that day because he was with his friend, and they were watching the Michigan game. So I left him alone, and like that haunts me. Like if maybe I should have called him, or did he try to call him? And then like that bounces around in my head, like the days that he did try to call and I couldn't pick up because I was busy. Was he going to tell me something? It'll haunt me forever.
So the value, and I know that's an odd word to use. There's something people need to realize about suicide that you know all too well now. I know all too well now because of him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you said it there. There were portions where if he was standing in front of me, I would have punched him in the goddamn face.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and there were other times I was inconsolably crying. And then I went through all the same things. So there's some universal things. While pain, okay, whatever pain Lucas was going through, whatever pain Mike was going through, is not gone. It's transferred.
Right.
Lucas's pain is transferred onto you. And I guarantee you, neither of those two wanted to transfer it. That was not their intention.
Mm-hmm.
All they knew is whatever was going on internally inside of them was so bad they couldn't take it anymore, and they had to stop it. But it doesn't stop. It's now your pain,
right,
and your cross to bear, and your wife's cross to bear, and Evan's cross to bear. So the pain gets transferred. And I'm a firm believer. Anybody who is in that state of mind, if they thought for one moment, because you got to remember, their peripheral vision is here.
Right.
They're seeing this. They're not seeing all the shit around them. I guarantee if we're able just to open up that aperture just a little bit on somebody who's in that mindset, they'll think twice about doing it.
Yeah,
Because somebody who really wants to take their life doesn't want to hurt anybody else.
exactly.
But
You're
they do.
exactly right.
But they do. So the mission that they're trying to accomplish, they fail.
Yeah, it just goes on to the next person.
Yep. And that's unfortunate. And I'm not here to bash Lucas. That's not what I'm trying to do, because I guarantee you it was not his intention.
No.
But that's what happened.
Yeah, you're right.
So if somebody's in that dark place, like Lucas, and they realize that, man, if I do this, I'm creating generational trauma up and down.
I think that's what got me started talking to those recruits, because so after we got his apartment and stuff cleaned up, let me rewind a second. This is really how it started. He has to go from the medical examiner to a funeral home because they have to prep his remains. You got to get a flight, the crate thing that they put his remains and all that stuff in. Medical examiner, because he was in the shower, medical examiner gives me, I have to sign for his effects, which was a little plastic pouch that had this necklace in it. And that's all he had on.
Is it St. Christopher medal?
St. Michael.
St. Michael.
They take him to this chapel, funeral home, and he's sitting in this chapel, and it killed me because we come around the back. All of his classmates are all standing there at attention. All the people from his zone were there. It was really hard, and they took him in, and they had the flag on him, and I went in, and I don't know why I didn't think of this, but I walked up there and I put my hand on him, not realizing that he wasn't in a casket. He was in a body bag with the flag over him, and I put my hand right on his hand, and I could feel his fingers, and that was super, super hard. And then I sat down next to a sergeant, and he says, "Do you want to say anything?" And I'm like, "Nope, can't do it. Won't be able to get through it." And then this is one of them coincidence things. Like, I stood up and started talking to those police officers and talking to those recruits. And I think what you were talking about, how that pain just transfers to the next person. When I talk to those recruits, I'm coming at this from such a totally different avenue that they're used to hearing a speaker. I'm not any kind of mental health professional or anything. I'm just a dad. I'm just a dad that's hurting.
You have information inside of your head that you cannot get from books.
Right. Right. And if they can see that, how that pain transfers, then maybe one of them will think twice.
So that's a great point. All right. There's, no matter how dark the situation, and this one is dark, there is always a purpose. There is always a reason. While Lucas is no longer here, do you realize that by you going and speaking to that recruit class, you're not going to reach everybody?
Nope.
You're just trying to reach the one.
Yep.
The one who is contemplating something that he can't talk about or she can't talk about, that they have nowhere else to go. But here's the shining light. Lucas may have been a sacrificial lamb where they're looking and saying, I've seen what this does. And that's what this is. I was in his place, okay? And I've seen what his death has done. So it's opened my eyes to say, oh my God, this is completely false to what I thought in my head, where I'm just going to get rid of my own pain and it's going to be over and the world's better off without me. Well, the world just hurts more with you not in it. And that's kind of what
more people hurt. Yeah. And like you said, and I'm sure it happens to you. You go and speak to all these different groups, and very few questions are going to get asked. None of those young people are going to raise their hands and say anything. But
no, they come up afterwards.
Absolutely. There's always a handful that will come up afterwards, and they're emotional because they're going through something, or one of their friends has went through something. Somehow suicide has touched them, and they got to get it off their chest. And like you just said, Kevin, if you can just get to one of them, it's worth it.
So my speaking partner Sherry and I, we do it very calculated. We didn't start doing it calculated. We kind of did it by accident. But now we do it more calculated. So after we're done teaching a class, or after we're done speaking, whatever we do, we will inevitably split up to different sides of the room. And you'll see people, right? You'll see people just standing there waiting for you to be alone.
Yep.
Because they don't want to say anything in front of anybody. They're waiting for you to be alone. And as soon as you're alone, they'll approach you and they'll try to have a very private conversation with you. And that's why we split up, to give that space. So Lucas's death, while it is tragic, has probably brought more light into certain other people's lives. I know that doesn't help your loss at all, but at least gives purpose to his life, as hard as that is to swallow it sometimes.
Yeah. I keep saying it, and every day it seems like something else happens, and there's too many little things that happen that I just know there's a higher power at work in the middle of all of this, because the fact that we both love the best football team in the world.
Exactly.
That can't be a coincidence.
And a guy who I've never spoken to, who I've never had any interaction to, somehow messages me, with you got to speak to this guy.
Right.
And you're sitting here and you tell this story, and Mike obviously wasn't my child, but it's so similar. It hits all the marks, all the grief, all the problems, the woulda, coulda, shouldas are all there.
So even the way Jared and I met, it's like that. Like Marie and I went to a fundraiser. Me and Evan too. We all went to this fundraiser for veterans, PTSD and suicide for vets. And there was a bunch of people swimming in Lake Erie. Jared happened to be swimming in Lake Erie. I didn't really know Jared, but we started chit-chatting with his wife. Didn't know his wife either. But his wife mentioned that he worked for HSI. So we kind of looked at each other. We're like, oh, maybe he knows your brother. So when Jared came back, we started talking to him. He's like, well, do you know her brother? And he's like, oh, yeah, I know Paul. Yeah, we might have worked on some stuff. I said, well, if you know Paul, then you know Lucas, because Lucas interned down there for like 14 months, and he got white as a ghost. You could just see he got emotional, and he's like, I'm so sorry. He said, I did not recognize you guys from the funeral. That whole office was at Lucas's funeral. Lucas interned for him, and like we got a letter hanging on the wall from the previous special agent in charge. Jared wrote the letter, and the SAC signed it. So they had, it's just crazy how they knew each other, and then that's how we got connected.
There's such a plan. The problem is we're mired. We're down. We're soldiers, right?
Right.
You and I are soldiers, and we're down in the battlefield, and we're fighting the daily battles and stuff. But the person with the plan is sitting up on top of a hill,
right.
And they can see
the stuff that we can't.
And they're sort of molding this stuff. While it seems chaotic down here, it is all part of. And I am a firm believer. I am a man of faith, and I am a firm believer that there is always a plan. Like Hannibal Smith said, okay, to try to bring some little bit of levity to this situation. I'm a big A-Team guy, right? I grew up watching
right.
the A-Team, and what did Hannibal Smith
right.
say every time? No matter how chaotic, no matter how random, there's always a plan.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day, you, my friend, will see what that plan is, because I know it doesn't make sense right now.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So why don't you give out the foundation, where we can find you, and that way we can direct our audience there.
You can search the long version, Law Enforcement's United Crusade Against Suicide.com. We have an event in September where we are running a 24/7 round-the-clock law enforcement relay from the new Public Safety Training Center in Atlanta all the way to downtown Detroit. That's called the Lucas Crusade, and it's you go to lucascrusade.org. That site is specifically for that event. You can run, you can register to run, you can donate. We're trying to dedicate multiple legs of the relay to officers that have died by suicide. So I've got families contacting me, like couple each week. We get the bio information and a pic from the family, so we can post that. Everything that goes with that type of event, we need volunteers, we need runners for sure. We need people to start registering for the run. You can look at the relay, drill down, zoom in on the map, click on one of them bubbles. It'll tell you where that leg starts, where it ends, how many miles it is, and pick which one you want and just sign up. And it's not so much the funds as it is the awareness. We're trying to engage the media. We're trying to engage political partners. Anything we can do to, it's that old saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and we're trying to be the squeaky wheel.
I think most of all, you're trying to give Lucas's life that purpose.
That too. That too.
So we're coming to the end of this thing here, and this is heart-wrenching. It's just heart-wrenching on so many different levels. I'm a firm believer that in every piece of suffering, there's a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
We don't always know what those lessons are. And I'm not sure if you're aware of the lessons yet. I think in time they will come. But if you had a theory on what you've learned from this particular suffering, probably one of the worst sufferings that any grown-up can ever imagine, what do you think that suffering of the death of your son Lucas has taught you?
Don't take your family and your loved ones for granted. Because they're
not here forever.
They're not here forever. You think they're going to be in I tell myself, like, if I could just talk to him one more time, or hug him just one more time. Don't, if any of your listeners can hear me, or when they do hear me, hug your kids. If they're not home and they don't live with you, you call them and tell them you love them.
So one of the things I threw out after Mike's death is, and it came out very organically, was the Not Today campaign. And the reason I started Not Today campaign was because whatever these thoughts you have on your head, whatever these things are going through your mind, sit on them for a day. Just whatever you're going to do, not today. Think about it tomorrow. Go to sleep, because you look at things with new, fresh eyes. Mm-hmm. The sun will rise. Tomorrow's a new day, and you may have a different perspective. So whatever, if you are somebody who is going through some troubles, who is going through this trying time, whatever you're planning on doing, it's not today.
Right.
It's just not today. And I want to talk to you off air about this relay. Well, Brian, my friend, it's a tough one here, but I thank you for coming in and sharing your story and
thank you
and talking to us. And so go to the lucasfoundation.org.
Yep, they'll all come up. The event is lucascrusade.org, and that's the event for that's the site for the relay.
All right, everybody, go there. Let's make Lucas's life make sense. Thank you so much, Brian.
Thanks, Kev.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, the suffering of losing a son. And let's think about all the stuff that we learned. We all deal with loss much differently. Certain things make us realize that we are just human. We all grieve in different ways. Pain doesn't end, it just transfers. But most importantly, no matter how random things are, there are absolutely no coincidences in life. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast. Don't forget to go to popple.com, put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount on your digital business card. Follow us on all social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, OnlyFans. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson, and of course, follow the Suffering Podcast. We'll see you on the next episode.